Thanks for being here. What a perfect night to be out and just talking about basketball. And we're here right now at Henley Park here in Enfield. There's 2 courts here, freshly built, and that's just a sign that there's of things to come here in Australia. Lorenzo, tell me, FIBA, how was it? I'd love to know what your experience was like from your goggles, and what was your intention when you went out?
So I have always, the FIBA World Cup is the pinnacle of what I'm trying to do in terms of international hoops. I've been to all the FIBA tournaments except for Afrobasket, and I'd been to the Women's World Cup in Sydney, and I knew that the dream would be to go to the Men's World Cup coming here. We're both from Filipino descent, and we knew that they were the co-hosts. And obviously with the pandemic as well, I just wanted to travel again.
That's right.
So when the hosts were announced, Jakarta, Okinawa, and Manila, I knew I had to do it my way, which is usually doing it all 3.
Yeah.
Because obviously most people will watch their team and whoever the host is, and maybe go to Manila for the finals phase. Yeah. But because I'm doing it as a traveler, as a backpacker, as an explorer, and also as just someone who wants to immerse myself in the experience, I had to do all 3.
I remember distinctly, you were having a chat with me in one event, I think it was a Kings game or something. And then you said, hey mate, you do know that FIBA's happening in Manila, right? Are you going? And I thought, hang on, I didn't even hear about it. And prior to that, my mind was like any random casual fan of basketball. It was all about the NBA. I dabble a little bit on NBL, women's basketball. But FIBA to me was so far detached. So I want to thank you because of that conversation, I actually put myself out there, decided to buy tickets, jump on a plane, took my son with me, and had a blast. So yeah, thank you for that.
That's awesome. Well, for me, I had it sort of in the back of my mind the whole time, but how 30 Home Games started was similar to that. Like, I love basketball. I was having basketball experiences all around Europe, and I would meet people who love basketball. Yeah. And I was hooping, I think, in Rotterdam with a Spanish guy in the hostel who had a basketball, and we were hooping, and he goes, oh, you love basketball, you should go to Eurobasket. And I was like, oh, what's Eurobasket? And he explained it to me, I looked it up, and I went there in Lithuania a couple of months later. And yeah, it's the regional tournament for Europe, and it so happened to be the lockout season for the NBA. This was in late 2011. So I got to see Dirk Nowitzki,
wow,
Pau Gasol, Marc Gasol, Joakim Noah, Boris Diaw, and all these guys, obviously NBA guys, but that's a side of the game that, maybe people don't know about, because you know the Dream Team, you know your local national team.
That's it.
But there's a whole world out there.
Look, credit to the NBA, because they're just one of the best marketing machines out there. Whatever they talk about, the whole world talks about it, right? And that's been my experience so far growing up watching basketball, because every weekend all I would see would be from the Philippines, top 10 plays every weekend, and that's all you could see. No internet, nothing. And now that I'm here, older, wiser per se in terms of basketball, I just appreciate how there's so much more to it than the NBA. And this whole experience with FIBA, it just blew my mind thinking, I thought I knew basketball. I know Jack about basketball. What are your thoughts on that? And has it even changed for you after all of that?
Well, I mean, the easiest way to see the gaps in knowledge is just listening to the usual guys you listen to on podcasts and on YouTube, and you realize what they don't know. Because if you were at something and you experience things, you're like, oh, they don't really. I mean, a simple version for this for Aussie fans is listen to Americans talk about the NBL.
Yeah.
They will get things wrong. They will exaggerate things. They will mislabel things, because how would they know the NBL? Yeah. They would know maybe LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey.
Yeah, just the highlights. Yeah, just the big things. Yeah.
And that's what they would also do for the World Cup, because for them, they had to watch it at 4 a.m. So a lot of people talk shit.
Yeah.
But for me, but that's the same. When we travel somewhere, I've been to Jakarta now, and I've been to Okinawa now, and people ask me, oh, what's it like over there? yeah, but it's 6 days of experience, very limited.
Yeah.
But we can act confident. Oh yeah, just do this, just do that. The Japanese people are like this, but it takes a bit of immersion, a bit of knowing what you don't know
Yeah.
to truly feel like you have an authority. But I mean, we can also just shoot. We can also just talk as
Yeah.
well. So you don't have to take it to heart. But yeah, like the more curious and the more you find out, the more you realize there's more curiosity, there's more to look into, there's more that we
Absolutely.
can dig into.
And honestly, for me, my perspective here is the best outcome was that the U.S. didn't get anything out of it. Because one, it opened the world into a new flavor of basketball. I mean, Serbia and then Germany, you know, they do have NBA players, but they didn't play the NBA flavor of basketball. It was everyone was, the ball movement was different. And I think one of my biggest, I guess, realizations here is that for the Philippines to be a basketball mecca in terms of fandom, they know nothing about European basketball. And you could see it. When the US lost, bowed out of the podium, hardly anyone was watching. They didn't
Yeah,
pay attention.
yeah.
No one appreciated how European basketball worked. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so to me, I realized this earlier on, and you would know this as a content creator. You can talk about Jokic, you can talk about Bogdanovic, you can talk about something niche.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk about the Lakers and
That's right.
LeBron, because that's where the hits are.
That's right.
That's where the attention is.
That's right.
And you can talk about the GOAT debate over and over again, because that's where the attention is.
Yeah.
And so when I think it was when the Bucks and Suns made it to the finals, boring. We don't want to see these people. Everyone was
exactly.
injured.
Yeah.
It should have been Lakers, Celtics. And it's like, they're the teams that made it. Oh, what are you going to do?
That's right.
And same thing happened with Jokic. MVP, oh, who cares? MVP, oh, who cares? And then he has to win the whole thing. Oh, yeah, maybe that guy is good. So, like, we all have to realize that attention is paid to what's popular.
That's right.
And there's always going to be a small subgroup of people like Australians who like the Boomers, people who like small market teams, who like the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, who are like, yeah, how about us? How about us?
Yeah.
And there's always been that tussle.
That's right. And you know what amazed me was Lithuania. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Latvia.
Latvia.
Wherein they didn't even finish with anything, but they came home to a very small country, and like thousands of people welcomed them, open arms, like they're so proud. My question there is that how does that happen for Australia? What do you think do we need to do as fans of basketball to grow this game here in our soils? Because I can see that there is some sparks there. You can see, you know, all of a sudden a lot more overseas talent coming, NBL, you know, a lot more merchandise coming to Australia. What is the tipping point?
Well, for me, and we can talk about this with women's sport or just anything. You just need to build a loyal fan base. You need to build a fan base that is ride and die with you, and who are genuine about the team and genuine about the culture. Because yes, success can bring you new fans, success can bring you new audiences, but I mean, the Lakers had whatever 10, 15 years of nothing, and the Knicks are even worse.
Worse.
But you just need that loyalty, and you need that culture. You need that sense of community.
That's right.
And so the Women's World Cup for football is a perfect example of that. A whole bunch of people who never even watched sport before got into it.
Got behind it.
So obviously there is a thing like a trend, or there's a groundswell that can happen. And then people are like, oh, why have a parade? They didn't even win anything. It's like, that's not all sport is about that.
That's right.
Sometimes you just have to celebrate what you can. It's
Exactly.
the community. And you have to pay the community too.
Exactly.
Because people were like, oh,
You have to reward them.
You have to reward them.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back again. And then maybe you'll go up
'Cause
and then up
it's
there.
just that feeling. You don't even, you're right, they don't have to win, but that feeling they gave you whilst you were watching them in the pub
That's
with
what
your
sport
mates.
is. That's what sport is.
It's lovely, and that's what I experienced firsthand being in FIBA, just running around the arena,
Mm-hmm.
bumping into foreign people, people from different cultures and countries,
Mm-hmm.
just talking about basketball. It was amazing.
So I got swept up by Sechplet. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know how to speak Latvian, but my first World Cup game was Latvia versus Lebanon.
Yeah.
Probably the best crowd on both sides I experienced. Now, Lebanon came second in FIBA Asia, while Arakji is a player I really like. So I came in wanting to like Lebanon.
Yeah.
They had an amazing support group.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe they came out because they came second in FIBA Asia and they thought they were going to do well. I mean, on a global level, not many Asian teams are going to do that well, and there shouldn't be that many fans.
Yeah.
There were a massive amount of Lebanese fans. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's about.
That's
if
right.
you go to the World Cup, the soccer World Cup,
Yeah.
every country is going to have people
Well
out
represented.
there.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. Like, you might lose 10-0 all 3 games.
Yeah.
But it's about your community
That's right.
and all the people there coming out and supporting their nation.
And this is where I really appreciated that mob of Australians, the old heads. They were even wearing custom shirts, right? I bumped into them and they were happy. And I knew, like I was talking to them on the side, that they were there because fully expecting the Boomers would make it at least to the semis.
Yep.
But you know what? Even if the Boomers weren't there, they all had fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was all about it, being with your mates, enjoying the sport that you love, and just, cheering on whatever was happening, because that's how you love the sport, right? So let me ask you a few questions, because let's go into the detail of the 3 countries that you went to. How was each country's execution of the FIBA World Cup different? Like in terms of fans and in terms of just the attendance as well.
It is good that you said that about the Filipino fans, because I did notice that they were bandwagoners, let's say, or they like
It's a Lakers arena.
yeah.
Austin Reeves just brushes his hair and
So I did notice that, which at first I was like, is this what's happening? And I think that was what was happening. So the reality, I've been to enough FIBA events to know that the reality is the home team will always have the biggest crowd.
Yeah.
So in this case, it would have been Japan and in the Philippines. But I sadly, I never got to watch any Gilas games.
Yeah.
So I never got to see the
Passionate
authentic
crowd.
passion of that. Then the rest is the local fans.
Yeah.
So in this case, probably the biggest I saw was Latvia versus Lebanon.
Yeah.
But even then, I think the attendance was like 3,000. Now, the arena was amazing. You don't even notice that it's an empty arena or
Yeah.
this and that. The 3,000 people you feel and you love.
Yeah.
But 3,000 sounds like a small number.
Yeah.
But if it's 3,000 people who've come from outside the country to
huge.
Jakarta,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
It's
Like,
insane numbers.
Yeah, people from Melbourne aren't even
3,000
coming
tourists.
to Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, people from 3,000 tourists from Melbourne or Tasmania aren't coming to a Sydney Grand Final game.
No.
So that's amazing, and I truly did feel that in Jakarta. And the other factor is day of the week.
Yeah.
A weekend game or a nighttime game is going to have more than a 4:40
Absolutely.
Wednesday game.
Absolutely.
So you always have to factor that in, and I think the viewing audience, they have to remember that too. If you watch any highlights of any mixtape in high school or anything like that, I've been to a lot of these things
Yeah.
with 30 home games, and they're empty. That's
Yeah.
just the reality of even NBA games are sometimes empty. So you should never
the Rockets last year
yeah. So you should never judge. Oh no!
by the attendance.
Yeah, attendance. Because first of all, the people who say that, they should be going to the games and supporting our sport.
That's right.
They're not complaining. Boo! No one watches your games.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Look, to compare, you did mention how you weren't able to see a Gilas game. I can tell you, if the Philippines or Filipinos have the ability to support, they will. They will. And I saw this. I think you were there as well. back when I think it was 2018 or 2017, there was an exhibition match
yeah, I was
here
there. Yeah.
in Melbourne. I think it was Rod Laver, Gilas versus Boomers.
Yeah.
80%
We're
attended were Filipinos.
Yeah.
In Australia.
Yeah,
And to me, that's like, I was so proud that I was there, and it was insane. It was a good match too. And yeah, to your point, we will support the Philippine team. It's just that outside of that and the US, it needs some work. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's the Filipinos' fault. I think, again, credit to the huge marketing machine that is the NBA. They've done so well. And I think to a degree, they're trying to stifle FIBA because it takes away their authority. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I don't know what the politics is, but I know that it's two different worlds. But I would imagine college and NBL and all these types of things are also competing. Obviously, the NBA can partner with the NBL and some smaller things if they can control the thing. But
Yeah.
I don't think FIBA or the NBA can control each other because they're big enough entities.
It is true. It is true.
And yeah, I agree with what you said with the Philippines Australia thing. And if you've ever been to a China game in Australia,
Yeah.
the Chinese fans will also
I
support
remember. Yeah, because what's his name? From Southeast Phoenix.
Southeast Melbourne thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever
Joe Chi.
he would come to Sydney, there'd be local ads in the Chinese papers just advertising he'd be here, and then people would come. And people are willing to spend money just to watch someone that they affiliate with. So it's really good. And I'm hoping, and now that we brought it up, Jasper and Toy being in the Kings, I'm hoping that brings in some crowds as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, but we've tried to get Filipino diaspora to come out to Kai Soto games.
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't as easy as you'd think as well, because I think so. Part of me going to games is because I started 30 home games.
Yeah.
And I will go out of my way, even if it's an effort to go to games.
Yeah.
But most people are casual fans. And I think people think in their heads, if I lived in an NBA city, I'd be going to all the games. I don't think it's that easy in terms of
It's
cost.
expensive. Yeah.
But also, do you know how hard it is to go to 42, commit to 42 anything?
Games. Yeah.
Like, if you had to go to your mate's house for 42, like, I don't think it would be that, it's that easy.
It's really die-hard fans.
It's really diehard, yeah. It becomes a cultural thing where
That's right.
I did this with my dad. So, yeah, I mean, I think rugby league and AFL have that culture, but it really is hard to go to games consistently.
That's true.
And that's why you need to cultivate that audience.
That's right. And this is where I think the next step for Australia is, because right now I am noticing, look, behind us, this court, have a look at how many kids there are nighttime. Like when I first moved to Australia, 2010, there wouldn't be courts, number one. And two, the people playing would be the older people. Now this generation who's hooping right now, that'll be the next generation who'll be watching the games, who will be fans, and probably trying to apply into the local leagues as well. So I feel very optimistic about it. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing some change, and I'm hoping it does progress. Especially, the Boomers are, ranked third prior to the FIBA competition, and we are on a good trajectory. There's a disconnect there, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily translates because, first of all, I grew up thinking everyone loved basketball. I grew up thinking everyone knew the Boomers because of the pain I went through. And you realize that that's just your bubble.
Yeah.
And now with social media and the more people you know, and then you realize they don't know because they just wear the clothes, but they don't know.
Yeah.
That like it's easier to get into things because of TikTok and because of YouTube and Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You can know everything about, I mean, you've seen this with sneakers. I don't know how long you've been in the sneaker game, but everyone's a sneakerhead now and everyone knows more about sneakers than you do. And then you're like, wait, but didn't you just get into it 2 years ago? But that's all of life now.
Yeah.
Like everything's just accessible.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into authentic following, because if it's easy to get into something, it's also easy to get out of something.
That's right. Is it a trend, or do you believe it as a person and it just became a trend, you know?
And obviously, as the older you get, so I mean, a simple one is like music.
Yeah.
The bands and music I used to listen to in my 20s, I would be embarrassed to wear some of those band t-shirts and or even care about that music.
Give me one. One embarrassing one.
No, I mean they're all punk bands, and then they're like, and then you play the hipster politics
Yeah.
of like, oh, I like bands you've never even heard of,
Yeah.
you know, like, but I don't think that world really exists anymore, because everyone just likes everything. People are just
There's
picking.
small bubbles everywhere.
Yeah.
They like their own thing. Yeah.
And
Fair point.
but then how many things in your life have you liked since you were 15? That to me is what's interesting.
That's true. That's true.
And
And that's
to-
stuck with you, and something that you're passing on to your next generation as well.
And that's what I think basketball, for me, it's pro wrestling as well. And then there's a million other things, but that's also what makes me me. I like a lot of weird different things. And if I meet someone who also likes those weird different things, I think it'd be weird if we still like those different things, but the fact we have that brain
Yeah.
is like, I'll get along with you.
That's right. That's right. And that's a huge part of why it's fun to go to these events, because you don't realize that all of those intricacies, you can match it with someone
Yeah, yeah.
from across the world. And you like that too. Oh, mate, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so cool story. So I was looking for someone to swap jerseys with, right? I was banging on every Serbian guy with a Bogdanovic jersey. Please give it to me. And everyone's like, oh, this is too special for me. Or some were signed jerseys. And then there's this guy, mate, you're wearing Australia. I'm Australian. He was wearing a Bogdanovic jersey. He was from Perth.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was he Serbian?
He was Serbian.
Yeah, wow.
But he got it from a mate, and apparently it's his second choice. He was there for the Boomers, but because we bowed out, he's just decided, all right, I'll jump on the Serbian bandwagon anyway.
Wow. So to me, that's, and I guess that's what it's ultimately about. It's the search.
Yeah.
Because if it's easy to get things, I mean, you know this with sneakers too. You want things that are a bit harder to get, but harder to get in the way that's interesting to you.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be hard to get because it's expensive or this and
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
You wanna search for it. And I think that there's a comedian, Pete Holmes, who I like, about Googling.
Yeah.
You can Google all knowledge.
Yeah.
But the best knowledge is when you
experience it.
experience it.
Yeah.
Maybe organically through conversation, organic through life. So the line he says is, who sings this song? I can just Google who sings this song.
Yeah.
But if it comes up in a conversation later on, you're like, now you're going to remember it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so for me, that story is amazing, because you had the intention for something to happen.
Yeah.
Try, didn't work. Boom, this happens. Best story of your life.
That's right. It's core memory now.
Yeah. And to me, that's what these experiences, going on these trips is about.
Yeah.
You set the intention, put yourself out there, and for me, it was meeting all the Latvians. I could not have planned that. I couldn't have planned that I met the best people, the Latvian connector, and the team that was the team of the tournament for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Cinderella story.
The Cinderella.
They could have made it. It's just, yeah.
So the guy I met, Gramuls, I have to tell this story. So pretty much I was going to the first game. I didn't know where the arena was. I didn't know how to get there, but I chose accommodation where I could walk to the thing. So I'm walking towards there. Then I see a bunch of Latvians, and I'm like, oh, they're going to the game. I'll follow them. I asked them. They're kind of friendly to me, but they're friendly to me. They give me a shirt, so that I become part of their crew.
That face shirt?
Yeah, Roland Schmitz, who's a stretch 4, which is actually my type of player anyway.
Yeah.
So he's like a TikToker, an influencer, and he just knows everyone in Latvia. And I was just connected with him for all the games.
Yeah.
And he would make recap videos every day. So
Yeah.
I was in every recap video. I was in 6 of the 8 recap videos because I was with him for Jakarta and Manila. And so there's one moment, maybe game 3 against Canada, I think. We would do the rounds at halftime. And he introduced me to, he goes, I want to introduce you to someone. He's the president of of basketball in Latvia.
Are you serious?
So I shake his hand, take a photo, you know, he's a cool guy. Then later on, everyone else is taking photos with him. And one of the guys goes, you know who that is, right? That's the former president of Latvia.
What the F, man?
So, and you know, like it's that type of connection. I'm like, oh man, I really did meet. So he's just friends with the former president of Latvia.
That's right.
Who is also the current president of basketball in Latvia.
It's amazing.
But he's just connected, and
Yeah.
he's just Grimul's is just a down to earth guy, and I'm like, this is who I want to be, and
Yeah.
this is who I want to meet and connect with.
Exactly.
People who are just like, you're a fan, I'm a person, you're a person.
And this is what I'm enjoying right now about the whole journey of content creation for basketball in Australia, because it's still at its infancy in a way that it's still about to blow up. And I'm seeing a lot of things happening. I'm telling you, prior to maybe a year or 2 years ago, I didn't know where to look for basketball in Australia. But now there's just so much happening. Like next week, Summer Jam. Are you going to be there?
I went to, I've been to the original
Yeah.
in Melbourne, but I don't know about the current event because I think it's pretty new, right? Is it the 2v2?
3v3, I think. 7th, which is Saturday next week. Yeah, grab your tickets; they're free anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, it's happening. So I've invited a couple of friends there. That's happening, and then the NBL is about to start, and there's a lot of 3v3 happening as well, and then WNBL. So I'm just, yeah, I'm running out of time to discuss more basketball.
So so we are in it because maybe we create, maybe we have found this niche.
We follow it.
We
Yeah.
follow it. How do you expand that? How do you get?
How do I share it?
Yeah, because I think all of these events would love people to show up to it.
That's right. So what I normally do, just like with the events that we've been to at Throwback, I got invited, and then I tagged two mates. Hey, do you guys want to go? I'm going to this event, and hopefully they do the same thing later on, because it's just how it spreads, because they don't realize that basketball isn't just about going to the game or playing it. It's about these mini events that you can get to connect with similar thinking people.
Well, so going back to the Filipinos who love basketball and are obsessed with basketball, and everyone will tell you that. How would you have gotten them to come to the other games? Obviously, it's a work day. It might be cost prohibitive, but I had the cheap seats, and
Yeah.
I know that they were only
600 pesos or around $20.
$20.
Yeah.
Now, maybe $20 is a lot for people.
Yeah.
Because, and also it's hard to go to games. I went to 10 days worth of games in a row. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. You have to be very selective. I think the way to sell it is you create the story, right? The way I told this to my son. This is the only event where you will see more than potentially 30 to 50 NBA players that are not playing currently in the NBA. Like, you want to see NBA players without having to pay the NBA price? This is it. And it's
Yeah.
going to be fantastic competition. That's how you sell it. And then at the same time, you want to understand why the last 4 MVPs in the NBA are not American. This is why. You have to see how they play, how they connect. They're so different.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to Bogdan. This is why I want a Bogdan jersey. He's, I guess, nobody right now because he got injured, but he's the lifeblood of the Serbian team.
Yeah.
So that's how I will sell it. There's a lot more to basketball than just the NBA.
So the thing I think people, again going back, everyone wants to watch an NBA game. What if the game was Indiana versus, I don't know, some other unglamorous team?
It will be for different reasons for different people, right? Myself, like, let's say for example, there are no superstars playing. They're injured, right? What I would look for are the plays away from the ball. Because how do I consume basketball? I look for, why is this team good? What did the coach do? That's what I look for, And it may not be for everyone. I mean, casual fans won't understand that, especially if they're just spectators, if they don't play the game. But for someone who plays now and then, I play 2 comps a week, that's something that I look for because I learn from it. And again, being a content creator, I make stories out of it.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. I can't sell it to someone who has a different mindset. They'd have to find that
Yeah.
own angle that
And
they're looking for.
I think that's the thing, especially it's really frustrating to have this WNBA debate or women's sports debate, because it's like, why would I watch something that isn't as good as the premium product? But
It's so different.
how about the weaker teams in the NBA? How about the college game? How about summer league? There's a lot of fringe players there, and it's bad basketball, but it's about building the community and building the audience around it. And I think the NBA has done a great job with the summer league, where that was a fringe thing where only the nerds would go, and now it is still only the nerds going, but
it's
the
a
nerds
bigger
are filling up the stadium now.
That's right. That's right.
And the thing is, how do you create that? And a simple one is like, maybe we have to go back to TikTok and trends. People will buy whatever a purple milkshake from McDonald's because it's a trending meme. Like, you can pretty much get anyone to do anything now.
That's right.
If your
There's
friends,
clout.
if there's clout, your friends are doing it.
Yeah.
People will do absolutely the dumbest things. So maybe there's something to that, of just like, you can get anyone to like anything if you sell it the right way.
If you sell it the right way, that's it. And again, that's where we're headed. I'm hoping it keeps going because it excites me. I'll be honest. I'm heading into Paris Olympics. I think boomers have a great chance. And if you're not a fan of basketball right now is the time, because we've got great talent. Especially, we need to tweak it from what happened with FIBA. We don't have any bigs. Aaron Baines just did a 20-20 in his last game.
Yeah.
And then I know that we've sort of written off Dellavedova,
No.
but he's
trying to come back.
He's trying to come back.
Yeah.
So he's scary right now. And then there's a lot of young kids happening as well. Rocco Zikarski. I mean, there's just so much happening. I think Paris will be interesting, especially the US is also out to prove themselves. So I'm hoping there's a lot of momentum there. And then especially in 2032, we will be hosting the Olympics. Imagine in just less than 10 years' time, we actually have a good enough crowd to fill up an entire stadium to support the boomers and just celebrate basketball here in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, like, I think, because I came into the NBL in the 90s when obviously the NBA and everything was massive, I've seen NBL being popular, and I've also seen it drop off because it folded.
Yeah.
And now I watched it come back up again.
Yeah.
So it's about, and as with anything, you always have to find new audiences.
Yeah.
You can't tell a young person, oh, but this was popular back then.
Yeah.
You have to always sell the product constantly.
That's right.
And then the trick is to bring people back as well. People who used to care.
It has to keep on the momentum in terms of being exciting. And again, the product, basketball, cannot live by itself. It's up to the NBL to do it. It's up to Summer Jam to do it. People like Throwback, us. It's everyone who likes basketball. That's your responsibility to invite more people into the community. Don't make it exclusive. Get everyone to play.
Yeah. And the reality is there are different people who just because you're a sneakerhead and just because you love basketball sneakers doesn't mean you come to games. Just because you play reps or you play pickup all the time doesn't mean you come to games.
I've played with different
audiences.
I've played with certain players who never watch basketball. Some players are purely players.
Yeah. So and that's the thing you always have to navigate.
Yeah.
And some people will. I mean, I still have friends to this day. People I went to high school who go, I will never watch the NBL. I watched the game 15 years ago and they were missing all their threes. I can beat them. And I'm like, A, you don't watch sport. B, you haven't been watching the NBL. And C, like, yeah, you could have thought that 15 years ago when you were, 22, but you've lived enough life to know that can't be right.
Mate,
you'd be a professional basketball player if that was so true.
I have a specific friend who said the same thing while we were watching the Kings in their finals when they won the championship, I think a year or 2 years ago. And I just, He's American.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't blame him for his him standing on his high horse. But I just fell silent and I said, well, maybe you should watch more. Maybe the defense is better. That's why they're not making more threes, right? So it goes in reverse. Defense in NBL is better.
Yeah. And that's why it's expanding people's minds. And so Germany, Serbia coming first and second, that, and as you would have seen on comments, that hasn't shut some people up.
No.
Oh no, we weren't trying. I mean, but that's the same thing. The Lakers get swept.
That's right.
Oh no, but we weren't trying. Jokic was Jokic being champion doesn't count.
Yeah. Why don't you try? Why don't you send the good guns, right?
Yeah. So, and it's like no matter what happens, people will always discount, will always minimize,
Discredit you. Yeah.
and that's why the you just have to keep on going.
That's right.
Yeah, you always have to keep on going.
Mate, it's been fun. What's next for you here about basketball?
Obviously, the World Cup is done. The NBL season's gonna start. I think the thing for me is always keeping the passion.
Yeah.
And so maybe when I said you just got to keep going, because not because it's haters, but you might not have an audience.
Yeah.
The things you create, no one might see. But for me, it's the connections you make, the friendships. It's those nice conversations you have. It's the human connection that keeps me in this.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm getting those things on a one-on-one level,
Yeah. You've won.
yeah, I've won and I'm going to keep going.
That's right. All right, man.
All right.
It's good to catch up. I'll see you soon
sir.
on the court or wherever. And then, we'll create more of these memories, yeah?
Well, and we're definitely going to drive over to Wollongong
Yeah,
to watch
that's right. We
to
will do
watch
that.
Lee. And Alex Sarr, Perth Wildcats, he's
Yeah.
future #1 pick.
Yeah,
We got to watch his games.
we got to watch him.
So I've got a calendar, Kings games and Hawks games that
Yeah.
we can go to,
We can go to.
where some of these stars and future stars are gonna come into town.
That's right. And we'll get some jerseys just like the Hawks LaMelo.
Yeah,
wall.
and obviously we gotta be there for the Kings 3-peat. So
Absolutely. All right, man. It's been fun. Thanks again.
take care, bro.